divorced when I was 7 years old, there weren't as many that we know of broken homes. All the neighbors, loved me and took care of me, had me over for a lot of meals and things because I was a latchkey kid. But in today's world, I think that there are more families that are not in a good, solid family unit. It's more the norm to not have two parents living at home raising kids. I think there's more single-parent families in America than there are two-parent families. We can do a fact check if somebody wants to check that out. Let me know the answer, please. But what I'm getting at is, from 7 years old, I was a latchkey kid, which meant that my mother was a sales girl at Lerner's department store. She caught a bus and went down to the department store every day to work, and she worked Saturdays. And we were very poor. And my mother relied on alimony, and she got little child support, and I underline little. And there were many, many days that she didn't have bus fare, and I had a little bit of money from allowance that my dad might give, that he did give me, not might. I say might because sometimes I rejected receiving the allowance because if I didn't write a letter once every 2 weeks to my father out of state, he withheld my allowance for that period. So it was kind of like I got disciplined to write a letter so that I could get an allowance, and I got older and decided that he needed the money more than me. And I've told my testimony about my dad on earlier shows. He's going to be 94 on August the 4th in a couple days. And I sent him a jar of, I got one for my birthday from my daughter in Oregon, dark chocolate. It's a gourmet kind of thing. It's dark. It's a sauce for ice cream. It's dark chocolate with sea salt caramel. And it's incredible. My dad's got a sweet tooth like me, so I sent it to him, and he called me this morning to thank me. So I love my dad, and we've gone through years and years of relationship building, which it takes sometimes. But since I was a little boy, I've always had to fend for myself, and I wore hand-me-down clothes. I had a cousin that was a year older, and he gave me his clothes for years and years. And my mother was a sales girl, like I said, and she didn't have bus fare. And sometimes I had a little money laying around, and she would borrow it from me. But my mother would come home after work every day, and she kept a change purse, so she'd always have bus fare. And when I was 8 years old, I got interested in coin collecting. And today's story, my first story, is about my coin collection and how that coin collection literally saved my life on numerous occasions, because I've fought to survive financially and different things, unexpected surgeries where I had no money and whatever. And I created an asset for myself at a young age that had a good monetary value. And I was able to leverage, which means use that, put it up for collateral or whatever, in my whole life. And so at 8 years old, I got for a birthday present a subscription to a newspaper that came out weekly for 2 years called Coin World, and it also covered paper money as well. But it was a thick newspaper about the size of the Wall Street Journal, and it was all about numismatics is a name for coin collecting also. It was all about money, coins, and what I really loved about it, one of the main reasons I got into it, was all countries have their own currency for the most part. Some share. But money is usually stamped or printed with a famous historical person within that country. And you can learn a lot of history, and I love history, and I love to travel. You can learn a lot if you study coins. Whenever I go on a vacation somewhere to a foreign country, I'll keep a little bit of money from that country in just a baggie or something and throw it into my collection so that my grandkids someday. That's one of the disappointments in life, though. It seems like sometimes what I think is going to be valuable to the next generation, as far as comic books and coins and things, they may not have any interest, but I hope they do. There'll always be, I believe, someone to come along that wants to know more about history. It's going to love those coins. It's going to love those old baseball cards. But anyway, I started going through my mother's coins because I was reading Coin World and collecting coins and really studying it. I would work jobs all the time, cutting grass, weeding gardens, doing whatever. And then I became a paper boy. But the bottom line is I started collecting coins, and every night I went through my mother's change purse to look for coins that I needed to put into the coin book albums that I was collecting. Well, my favorite coins are the Standing Liberty and the Winged Mercury on the Mercury dime. It's probably foreign to everybody listening, but the dime that we have, it's the Roosevelt dime. President Roosevelt is on the dime, but the Mercury dime is the Roman mythology winged Mercury. And I'm not going to tell you what Mercury is the mythological god of. Go see Wonder Woman, and you'll learn more about that kind of stuff. One of my favorite movies ever. Phenomenal. But in studying coins, Lady Liberty, though, is my favorite coin. And she's appeared on many, many different coin issues. But my favorite one is on the $50, the 50-cent piece. And wow. I went through my mother's change purse in 1959, 60, right in those years. And she had a $50 in there that was a 1921D $50. And if you study coins, a coin is valued if you try to sell it. Let me say this. I don't believe that you ever get money out of a coin collection when you try to sell it much, because the collectors, they're not going to pay you a very good amount. And so it's really a misleading type of a value, but it's always worth its face value in America because the government guarantees the solvency of our money. So if you got a 50-cent piece, it's going to be worth 50 cents in America. It will always be. I have faith in America. But that coin, they only had 232,000 of them minted, and just to put it in perspective, many times there's millions of coins minted in a certain coin, and it was the most valuable one. And according to the books where you get value, it could have been worth as much as $125. Well, I told my mother that. I didn't steal the coin from my mother. She just said, well, just give me 50 cents. She said, you can't have it unless you replace it because it's my bus fare. So I gave her 50 cents, and to this day, that's my most valuable coin that I have in my collection. It's my most treasured coin. But that coin collection that I diligently kept, it got to where my father started giving me gifts on my birthdays of proof sets that are minute coins in a special way that have never been touched, and they're enclosed in a certain kind of a cellophane sealed. And when I was in high school, probably 14 or 15 years old, my coin collection was valued at the time, probably never get it out if I tried to sell it, but it was valued at about $2,500 to $3,000. And here's the lesson that I'm trying to give you. That was my first real asset that I ever acquired in my life outside of my own personality and things of that nature. My first monetary asset of value. And there were times when I was struggling a whole lot, especially in my college years when I dropped out of college a few times and was kind of searching. But however bad things got for me, I always knew that if I have to, I can sell somebody my coin collection. Because I knew a lot of people that knew I had a coin collection, and they always made me some offers. Nobody was going to give me a real value for it, but some of them were giving me a whole lot more than what the face value was, and I could have easily got $1,000 or $1,500 for my coin collection when I was in those early years. But here's what it did for me. When your back's against the wall and you're losing hope that you're going to be able to get through whatever crisis you're going through, and if a lot of you that are listening, well, let me say it different. I believe that many of you that are listening can relate to what I'm trying to tell you. I have been out there without a job, having medical issues where I'd have to have a surgery or something. Had my motorcycle where I couldn't get it out of the shop because I didn't have the money to pay for it, whatever. Struggling. And a lot of people think this is what we all really go through. But there are some people that they don't let this happen to them. They plan better. Next week, we're going to have a guest. His name's Willie Butler, and he is a financial planner consultant, and he has a podcast, a streaming podcast on the internet, and he understands what I'm talking about now, because what his show's going to be about, I'll put in the announcement right now for that. He's going to talk with me about trying to help you build a solid financial future when you feel like it might be next to impossible to get through your crisis. So tune in next week for Willie Butler. You're going to love Willie. But what I want to get back to is, have you ever been in a position where you feel like nobody's there to help you, where you don't have any more options, where it's just never going to happen, and you're pretty much just accepting that and giving up and turning to the proverbial bottle or something else just to kind of give you some kind of a boost so that you don't have to deal with your crisis? Well, let me tell you, Right Thinking Foundation is don't quit, plan ahead, it will get better. That's my life motto here. And I'm telling you that when you have something in your back pocket that's of value, it's yours. It's not having to ask anybody else. You want something that is your very own that has a value, because that will give you confidence to keep the good fight going and not give up. And I want to tell you, that coin collection, at least 15 times through the course of my life, I have known that I may have to use that coin collection to sell it or to borrow against it or use it as collateral, which means put something up like at a pawn shop. Stay away from pawn shops. They're incredibly expensive, and it's a game you're not going to win if you can't get it out. They're not going to give you anything close to value for what you let them hold, because if you're that desperate where you got to get money from a pawn shop and you think, well, I'm going to come pick up my wife's diamond ring in 2 weeks when I get this deal finished, and you don't get the deal finished, well, they got your diamond ring for a $150 loan. So don't do this. But what I'm getting at is, you need assets in your life. You need to spend your money in a way that is productive working for you. Like in the parable, the Lord rewarded those that were resourceful, that took a little risk. He wants you to do that. It's good to work and invest your money wisely. So what I'm saying to you right now, though, is if you have something that you can fall back on, it will give you a confidence that I'm not destitute. I'm still standing. I'm on my feet. I can still keep trying. And so I have a very good friend, and his name is Jim Gilday, and his wife Ann, and these are two of the loveliest people that I've ever known. They celebrated their 50th anniversary a couple months ago. I've known Jim through business. He worked for the city of Norfolk and the planning department, and I was down there a lot doing development deals back in the 80s and the 90s, decades, I guess. But I did a lot of things with the city of Norfolk, and Jim Gilday was one of the people that worked in the planning department, and I got to know him. Another gentleman there was my main point of contact, but I knew Jim, and I've always liked Jim, and we've had lots of good conversations, and right when he retired, he started coming to the YMCA all the time, and then we really started getting to know each other better. And we started going on walks every now and then. And we went for this one walk in my neighborhood one day, and he's a really, really good person. And I told him the story about my coin collection. And the last part about the coin collection, before I move on to the story that Jim told me that I'm going to share with you that's so profound, as recently as a year ago, I needed money very, very badly. And my father, who helped me, encouraged me and helped me, gave me proof sets and things. I didn't want to take money from my father. He offered. But he did say, well, how about if I loan you money, and if you can't pay me back, I'll take the coin collection or different parts of it. So I had a couple $1,000s of the state quarters. They put out a series 10, 15 years ago of every 3 months they put out a commemorative quarter with a state and the state motto on the back of each quarter. And so I bought rolls and rolls of those as an investment with the thinking that, hey, I'm just going to put these in my collection and someday I'll give them to my grandkids. Another thing, I apologize to tell you, I'm going to introduce the story with Jim Gilday, but let me tell you this because I think it's really going deeper for me. My grandmother, her name was Bubby. She died in about 1965. every year we had a family reunion,